Okay, Johnny Wonder here with GolfWRX. So we're at the Ely Callaway Performance Center. They call it ECPC in Carlsbad. Part of the fun thing that we get to do every once in a while is we get to have a forum member kind of come down here and experience this with us. So we have Jeremiah Webb from Los Angeles.
Good to be here.
Tarheel Nation, I think. On,
TarheelNation3. Yeah.
In the forums, very active member. And then we have Garrett from the Ely Callaway Performance Center. He's a fitter, he's a head fitter here. So what are we doing today?
Well, we're going to get a set of wedges for him, and that's going to consist of kind of understanding his game a little bit and understanding if he's got any goals with his wedges. We've got a lot of different loft options to pick from, a lot of different grind options to pick from, so we've got to make some sense out of what lofts he puts in his bag.
Sure.
And make some sense out of what grinds help him hit the types of shots he likes to try and play around the green.
We're going to kind of film you hitting some shots, so don't get nervous. Don't let the cameras bug you.
No pressure.
Try not to hurt anything.
No pressure.
The way he likes to put his wedges together is he wants the yardage that they all fly to be spaced evenly, which is a pretty common way for players to put their set makeup of wedges together, almost as if they're an extension of their iron set.
De-lofted that a bit.
Yeah, the more shots you hit with that 55, it's about an 11, 12-yard gap instead of 15. So not necessarily something you need to make a major change with, but you can monitor that. And I was mentioning earlier, a lot of players that draw the ball like you hit their wedges a long, long way.
Yeah.
So it's real common to see players play 60 rather than 58 when they draw their wedges. We even see some players that play, bend their 60 up to 61 or 62, just so that they don't hit it, too close to their next wedge. Good one there.
This used to be my, full shot 85.
Yeah.
If I really step on it, 89.
Yeah, and you're getting 95 now, and the amount of spin that you're creating, it's actually a good amount of spin, but if you have to kind of hit a 3/4 shot to hit it 80, 85 yards, then you're going to start reducing the spin even further, and then lower spin is kind of a code word for less control with a wedge. So if you're okay with changing the loft for some of those shorter shots to make the full swing, go a specific yardage, then you could go that route.
I always feel like I can manipulate the club head. I think I'd rather know what my gaps are with the full shots, and then
gotcha.
I'm decent enough to adjust the
You can
head.
adjust to whatever lofts in your hands to hit the shot around the green. Yeah, so it sounds like a little more loft on your two high lofted wedges, maybe upwards towards 2 degrees on the lob wedge and 1 degree on the sand wedge, and that'll back off your lob wedge hopefully closer to the mid 80s, and that'll back off your sand wedge hopefully closer to the 100-yard mark. So that 15 yards is now your gaps.
Okay.
So now kind of onto the grind options. Lot to choose from. What you have is most similar to our X grind, which is this guy right here. It's probably a little bit narrower sole than the D grind that you're playing from Titleist, but similar amount of bounce, similar concept where we're trying to give a player that likes a lot of bounce or needs a lot of bounce a versatile option. The sole's got to be narrow so you can open the face. The bounce has to be high so that it doesn't dig. And players that draw the golf ball, hit down on it fairly steep like you do, tend to prefer a lot of bounce on clubs that they're hitting full shots with.
So this Jeremiah Webb, forum member, big Roger Cleveland fan. He's obviously getting a fitting. So he has no idea that you're actually going to go over there and kind of help him out a little bit.
When you make them longer,
if Roger Cleveland rolled up on me in a wedge fitting, I would crap my pants.
Put down the swing speed a little bit more.
Guys, I got to interrupt this for a second. So part of the drill here, we're going to let Roger Cleveland take over for Garrett for the final part of this little fitting here. That's Jeremiah. That's Roger Cleveland.
Hey, Roger. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you. I heard you might know a couple things about these.
Well, I've learned a bunch of things from Garrett, I'll tell you that. This man knows his stuff.
Here's kind of the rundown thus far. He's got a 50 degree, a 55, and a 60.
Good.
By the time his 60 and 55 were hit for yardage gaps, they compress a little bit. So adding a little loft to the lob wedge is going to get him a gapping that's more spaced evenly with the rest of his wedges, as well as the sand wedge.
61 or something?
61, 62. We kind of have to tinker with some lofts and see what produces the yardage gaps.
So he has a W now, or do you have an X?
The W is in his hands.
Okay.
His current wedge has the same general shape and bounce angle as our X grind. It's just a wider sole, and it was pretty noticeable. He started to get the club digging into the ground with the X grind. So we might get a win-win. I was telling him if we add a little loft, get enough loft for the full shot and enough bounce for the turf interaction.
So Jeremiah, what's your first initial reaction to the Jaws MD5? What are you experiencing? What do you think?
You know, so I've been playing Vokeys for the last couple of years, but the head shape I really like. It's nice and rounded. I was hitting the X grind first and seemed to be digging a little bit, but I really actually like the turf interaction with it. You can feel the club head through. I like the way they're coming off. Launch is good. You know, these guys are going to tweak it and get me right.
I think that's the answer right there.
That looks pretty good.
Yeah, that one felt good.
The one that Roger mentioned where you bottomed out behind the ball, that one right there as well. The thing I look for is for a miss hit like that to produce kind of almost the same outcome as if you would have hit it perfect.
Okay.
You want that sole to work, get on the ground like it is, and slide, and not dig. And that's what it's doing, because it has a little bit more bounce now because he's pretty steep.
Start with you guys. What did you see at first? What did you work on? Where did we land?
Well, we wanted to get a sense for how far he hit all his current wedges at the lofts that they're set at. His goal is to have the yardage spaced evenly, which is a real typical way to set up the wedges, so that statistically you're less likely to be in between clubs if the gaps are the same throughout the bag. He started to have a little compression on carry distance because he hits his highest lofted wedges really, really far at the swing speed that he generates with those clubs, and that's because he de-lofts them and kind of plays a trap draw, gets a lot of distance out of those clubs. So,
and he's a tree, so that helps too.
yeah, generating a lot of speed too. So.
And that's where you come in. So you come over here and you're watching this kid hit some balls, and you know, we talk about bounce, and you know, you're a big advocate that 50 yards and in is where you kind of see if a guy knows how to use a wedge or not, basically.
Yep.
So what did you see?
Well, I think Garrett analyzed it really, really well. On the full shot, you need that extra bounce. Goes right to our X grind, which is our highest bounce. Okay, it's about 20 degrees. Okay, but it's narrow, so even to make that even more usable, we added 2 degrees to get the increment of distance that you needed between your sand iron and that, and it worked out beautifully.
So all the focus is on you, kid. Like, what did you think? So the Jaws wedges, you got the full treatment.
I love the feel of the wedge, and it was kind of eye-opening to, you know, talk and realize we're going to loft it up to 62 degrees versus playing 59, 60 for the last couple of years. So that was nice to see those distances, and it's a great wedge and pretty excellent experience.
Not a bad way to spend an afternoon. I'd say hanging out with Roger Cleveland, and this is pretty awesome.
Slightly better than the office.
So we want to thank, like Callaway Golf took good care of us, and want to thank for them allowing us to come in here and bring in one of our forum members here to do this. You're going to stay here and do some more kind of jerry-rigging around with Garrett, and
yeah, as long as I can.
And you're getting the full tour experience. I mean, this is kind of what it's like. You're digging all the answers out of the ground. So thanks, Callaway Golf. We've had a blast, and we'll see you guys next time.
Pleasure.